is there ever going to be something done about the Haiti situation? Because it certainly isn't about an earthquake. I mean, we're in the Caribbean, we're along, the hurricane belt, we're sitting on tectonic plates. So it's something that's part of our daily lives. The Haiti situation is a 200 years old problem. And no one ever seemed to be bothered with that. This is a country where people die because they have no food to eat. And there are earthquakes in the Caribbean all the time. I mean, we experience it, we look forward to it, to many of us. When I was a kid, it was just something that we laughed about. So now I find it very interesting that everyone is talking about the Haiti situation. What do we hope to achieve out of this? I'm hoping that it's not just another hype where, they think of these little poor people over there in the Caribbean. Let's help them out, they have no food. Or is it that there is a real interest here on sorting the Haiti situation out? And that is, the dumping of garbage from the United States into their market, the systematic exploitation and the deprivation of their people. That's the real problem in Haiti. So is that something that's been looked into? Is that something that we're all interested in trying to get a solution to? Or is it just a hype?
Do our panelists want to say something? Ronnie,
it's a statement. It's
a statement.
I agree.
And I would say I hope it does herald a change. Forward, I can understand you say why the attention now and not the attention in the past, but we are where we are, and there is an opportunity. How that will be grasped by all of us, I don't know, but there is an opportunity now. There's an enormous amount of effort gone in there, and their attention has been focused on it. And the fact that we're here this evening is of itself a move forwards. But part of me thinks, well, it's already slipping way down the media agenda. It's gone off the front pages. Yet the crisis there in terms of humanitarian needs is as it was shortly after the earthquake. I think we just have to keep it on our agenda, and we have to keep reminding people about it.
All of you have really described the positive sides of the international aid in many disasters, but also quite a number of elements that were actually counterproductive, such as uncoordinated help, lack of supplies, lack of competence, as we saw in the amputation example, and so on. So, question one, in an ideal world, what should be done about it? And question two, in a real world, what can be done about it realistically?
Easy question.
Well, it's up to Haiti, as has been discussed, was that it was very difficult to control people coming in. In the ideal world, you would have a very clear control of people coming in, and you would be able to identify what competencies those people had relative to what the needs were. That's the ideal world. In the practical world, well, as we know, that aid is given for a number of reasons, many of which are political, and so the aid will come anyway. And actually controlling people who come in and recognising competencies can be very difficult to do. But if we take the UK example, we're working very hard on this at a national level. For example, we have the National Health Service that can release people to help countries, both in the acute emergencies and in development. But in order for the NHS to let people go, what we're working on, that there would be key competencies, that only those people who have demonstrated key competencies and experience in these matters will be released from the NHS. So that's a way of controlling it, of being able to encourage those people who wish to do it to gain these competencies, and perhaps to restrain those people who yet need to get the key skills. But it's difficult to do. In the end, it's very difficult to say absolutely no, you can't go.
Other questions?
Over here.
Oh, yeah, let me try the other side of the room. Is there a question
Yes.
over here? Yes.
The first question actually is to you, Dr. Glick-Schiller. You spoke about the minimum wage, and I'm very much interested in that because in the early 90s, I was doing some coverage on Haiti, and know that, and I don't know many people in this room knows that, you know, where your golf balls and your baseballs come from, it's Haiti, and also macaroni.
And your Disney pajamas came
Exactly.
from Haiti.
And for 40 cents a day, a woman works in a factory in Haiti, and we in the United States can purchase a box of macaroni, pasta, for 40 cents on sale. But the woman in Haiti can't afford to buy that, to provide food, and so she goes to the pier and beg or scrounge from the garbage. So I'd like to hear something on that. And Dr. Ormond, you spoke about the amputation. And I wondered about those amputations when I was watching that, because I work for peacekeeping operation, where, especially in Sierra Leone, where the RUF indiscriminately amputate. And when I saw that, and I knew that it wasn't happening to my colleagues, many of whom I lost. And this seemed like, to me personally, like indiscriminate amputation that was happening at that time. I know in emergencies, all sorts of things happen. So I would like, you touched on it, but I'd like you to elaborate on it some more. And to Tony, about the talking about all these emergency stuff and so on. The NGOs, as soon for MSF, as soon as the crisis is going under, MSF gets out because you're an emergency organization. Because I knew when the war is coming to an end, as soon as election is coming, MSF finds the next emergency. So you're not. I mean, it's something good. Because what happened is that a lot of NGOs are coming to my office, for instance, saying, I think HIV/AIDS is going to be the next thing. You think UNDP or whomever will accept our proposal so that we can stay? And it's about a job. So I would like my Eric Noji, Dr. Eric Noji, to maybe address that, because you talked about these rapid assessment needs and this sort of thing. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think you've summed up the whole panel now. Yeah, I mean, this is focused on what the medical emergency right now, and and the questions of what's an appropriate humanitarian response. And we could go on about the background in Haiti. I had the baseballs down, but I didn't have enough time for the baseballs. But basically, I was just trying to set the scene by saying, constantly we hear this is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Constantly we hear, that there's no infrastructure, no government, and that has to be put in the context of how much wealth, through their labor, Haitians have produced. The wealth goes elsewhere. It doesn't stay in Haiti. That's part of the problem, and it contributes to the medical conditions, both emergency and non-emergency, in Haiti, including HIV.
Just coming back to the amputations. I mean, it is an issue. How big an issue and the nature of the issue needs to be investigated, but it's extremely important and very sensitive that it is investigated. But you cannot escape the fact that amputations were done very early in a situation where they do not always need to be done very early, but they do appear to have been done very early, and of a type, the guillotine type, where they're just cut through rather than a measured surgical approach to actually preserving or giving a better stump for a prosthesis. So that is an issue. And there's also an issue that the identity training of the surgeon and the reasons for the surgery were not always recorded. Now, that's got to be investigated in order that there can be standards set and an agreement for this by through WHO, through the Red Cross and so on. How big the problem was, I can understand it for people with relatives there. It's a terrible thing to think that it might not have been necessary. And I can't say, and nobody can say at this stage whether or not it was. But what you can say is that a lot of them do appear to have been done very early, and earlier than would be necessary. And the reasons for it are unclear in many cases. And that in itself should prompt people to look at it more closely and make sure that the competencies of people going out to these events is adequate.
Also have to realize that when you hear of the thousands of amputees, most of them are not surgical. The majority are what we call traumatic amputations, loss of limb because of entrapment, infection. That's the vast majority of the amputations. So don't think that 30,000 people got their legs guillotined. The number of surgical ones is a fraction of the whole. Now, getting back to the whole concept of early damage assessment, rapid needs assessment, rapid epidemiologic assessment, that came out of scenes from past disasters of total inappropriate assistance flowing into countries based on what we think happens in a disaster, tied to national pride and interest, because the guiding principle for many years, and to a certain extent still, is he who is first wins. And sounds crazy, but the teams that get there first, the countries that deploy first, that is a major part of discussions in deployment. But I have to say that it's the amount of inappropriate materiel is much less, and the contributions which have mitigated those early scenes of down coats and being sent to Bangladesh or East Pakistan at that time after the cyclone, birth control pills and inappropriate medications being sent to starvation areas. People that you don't see that too much anymore because of prepackaged kits. For example, the WHO medicine kit, which is amount of the drugs and equipment and supplies that will generally handle most problems for 3 months for 10,000 people. Major advance, I have to say. And but rapid needs assessment is basically that we should wait until those assessments are done before implementing an inappropriate response. But sometimes that's impossible.
Well, yes, a few words about MSF. It is true that we like to depict ourselves as an emergency organization. In fact, we do emergencies, of course. We love emergencies and we work in this field. But it's far from representing the bulk of what we were doing. Most of the work of MSF is done over years of presence in the field, whether in the field of chronic epidemics or refugee camps, which last, decades sometimes, or working in hospitals, strengthening local health structures. So it's much broader than just emergencies. That's what I wanted to. This is the reason why I was reacting negatively when you were saying, well, you're going off. We're going to stay in Haiti for, I don't know, but at least 2, 3, maybe 5 years more. We'll see. But there's no reason. I mean, it's just unthinkable that MSF leaves now.
Can I just make a clarification about amputations, because it's a very emotive subject. Amputations are an inevitable consequence of earthquake, but the point I'm making is that infection takes days rather than hours to develop. And the amputations are, so you've got time to see if you can preserve the limb either totally or in length. And I was referring to surgical amputations, not amputations that occurred by something falling on it and taking a limb off. These were surgical amputations. So on the one hand, I don't want, that amputations are necessary, but there are some concerns about Haiti.
Yes, I see a hand over there.
Thank you. Certainly one of the ways that the Haiti disaster was covered in the UK, and I'm not sure if this was replicated elsewhere, but the media were, in their attempt to keep the story on the front page or in the newsreels, they would look for the new story that comes out of Haiti. And I think rapidly after the initial emergency had passed, one of the stories that came out was how the people's perception of their own traditional beliefs had been shaken, and there'd been a movement away from the indigenous beliefs in sort of voodooism and other beliefs in Haiti at the time, and a move over to Christianity. That was certainly something that I saw in Sky News and the BBC. And on the other hand, as well, there is this perception and or reality, I'm not sure, that a lot of the humanitarian assistance is motivated by missionary work. Now, I guess the question is, to what extent, on the part of the people, is there a movement towards the beliefs or towards the socio-political culture of the people who come in, and also to what extent, from the people who come in, the NGOs, is there a movement to impose those beliefs on the people that they're assisting? Because I think that there is a tendency. But either there is a perception and or a reality that this is what this is a sort of byproduct of the emergency situations that the three of you have been dealing with.
Well, it's a very difficult question, and the answer depends on what you exactly mean by belief, or traditional belief, or indigenous belief, and what you mean by other types of belief. Well, let's take the example of MSF, which is an absolutely non-religious organization. We will never impose any kind of religious belief, though we come with a general set of beliefs in biomedicine or this kind of, which to some extent can be build ideological beliefs. But the point is that, and this is what makes the question complex and interesting, the point is that more and more people share this belief, and biomedicine is a widely shared approach which can be combined with with a variety of other beliefs. You can have a car accident and think that you're going to be paid back by your insurance, and this is a very modern thing, but you can also think, and that doesn't contradict your going to your insurance broker and getting the money he owes you, that doesn't contradict the fact that you can believe that, well, that was written. It was a providential event, and it was written. Insurance is about hazard, is about, random events. Providence is just the contrary. And you can live with both creeds, both beliefs in mind. As a doctor, I've experienced when I was working in the field, that's quite a while ago, but as a doctor, I've experienced that people would come to me for a TB, for an injury, after having gone to a shaman, to a traditional doctor, with no real contradiction between them. They just help themselves. There is an offer, they try it, they see what works best in their own mind. So I think there is not only a conflictive situation, but also a combination of various beliefs, as long as we don't impose anything, though, of course, to some extent we impose because we're here and we are those who bring relief. So there is kind of imposition. I don't want you to escape that fact, but, well, again, a trade-off between well, being there to help people or letting them just take care for themselves with their own beliefs. It's a bit confused. I'm aware it's a bit confused, but, well, the question you raise is very broad and complex.
I've never, not saying it doesn't happen, but I've never seen relief groups try to impose religious precepts on.
Oh, yeah.
I said it.
I have too.
I haven't seen that, but then I'm pretty narrowly focused and not very observant person. But what I have seen is more ideological, political, commercial attempts to, of course, well, let's just say it, a lot of Japanese relief efforts several years ago basically opened up incredible markets for Japanese products, and since they have the contract for UN vehicles, they have to be maintained, and then you send Toyota facilities there, and before you know it, everyone's driving Japanese cars. But like I said, and then political, of course, the classic example right now is Cuban doctor diplomacy, and with the need that you're going to have, where they, lots of Cuban doctors all throughout Latin America, perception that they're doing more than just caring for people, they're proselytizing form of communism, and that actually has the reaction of a State Department, I know, is to send form American, like a medical peace corps to counter that. Disaster diplomacy in a way.
We should probably move on because we have very little time left, but people often do change their beliefs at times of disasters. They look for some other explanation. Yes, over here. And I'm sorry there's so many hands, which is wonderful. I'm not sorry there's so many hands. I wish we had more time.
Okay. I'm interested in the use of Facebook and the other things that you suggested for bringing the buyers to sellers together, for hiring the staff and raising money. It seems almost too easy or too good to be true at times, and I was just wondering, similar to the need to have regulations of standards and competencies of the people who provide the care, what assurances are there that the stuff you get through Facebook and stuff will sort of not be exploiting at this time of need the people that need the care the most?
One thing that I think that whole use of Facebook for fundraising, and it's not only that, it's iTunes, do $1 at a time, and people won't think too much of it, but that Facebook will fail unless you can assure accountability, because people who, accountability is more than just assuring donors, big countries, that the money is being spent well, but people who are thinking they're supporting an orphan or a child, they're not going to give money just for the sake of giving money. They're going to have to get some reassurance somehow through that mechanism, which is being worked on, that the money is going to where it's supposed to go.
Yes?
But it's been very successful.
I'm not sure this is a question, but I wanted to ask and just pose something. A couple of the speakers were talking about seminal points in their own personal and the life of the humanitarian aid. And certainly one that wasn't mentioned, I think, was Ethiopia in the 1980s in terms of humanitarian responses, which I think changed a lot of things in people's minds. And certainly their disaster preparedness, the profile of that was raised quite considerably. And I don't know whether that's occurring in other areas of the world or not. But I think we should think about things like famine as well as issues such as earthquakes in terms of humanitarian issues that we've been talking about tonight.
Thank
that
you.
was a key, but I was too young. Yeah. It's true, I wasn't.
Thank you. I would take that as a point of contribution. Is there? We have a time for just a few more questions. I see a hand here, and
my question was regarding the professionalisation of humanitarian aid, and with its resultant emphasis on accountability and efficacy, and whether you think this has led to a culture where the emphasis on quantifiable results and targets overshadows the quality of the means to reach those targets, and whether that can lead to possibly like situations with the guillotine amputations, where perhaps that was a result of somebody trying to meet a certain target without due regard for the means of getting to those targets, the quality of care involved.
I don't think it was targets. First of all, it needs to be established if it's an issue, and it does need to be looked at. But my feeling would be it was inexperience.
But I personally think that, since if I had to think of what is my goal for the rest of my career, it's professionalization of the field and how that's achieved, keeping good people in the field, because that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I would endorse that. It's to build up this institutional memory, this body of experience. You see it in journalists. They'll go to one or two of these events, and it's reflected in the way they respond to it and the way it's reported. And what we need to do is to look to build up this institutional memory so people understand more and more about what the issues are, and things that might seem counterintuitive, like dead bodies not being a risk to you and so on, that will filter through and people will gradually get more understanding of it.
I think I'm only able to take one more question. There's a woman way up in the back who's been trying for a long time.
Thank you very much. First, I wanted to say thank you to all of you for coming to speak about Haiti. It means a lot. And I'm sure the Haitian people are very happy that so many people have come to help them. As a Haitian myself, I can say that from the heart. It's really touching how the international community has come to help us. I think one big question that's on everybody's mind is we've been in a state of learned helplessness for such a long time, and this has only been magnified by the earthquake. We've had so much help, but I think the big question is, how can you help us help ourselves? I think in medicine that's very true because there aren't really enough doctors. MSF has been working for years in Haiti, doing wonderful work, and we always get new doctors coming in from the States or from elsewhere showing us. But how can we do it for ourselves? How can the NGOs help us learn to do it for ourselves so we don't have to always be? I think that's a question that's happened in a lot of disasters before, where when you leave, what do you leave behind? What's the legacy? So I guess that's the question. Each one of you, what would be your agenda for that?
Well, it is to build in training into your aid program, which I know we do. I actually know that looking at Haiti now, it's a recommendation of the British government's aid program that 10% of whatever aid is given should be devoted to disaster preparedness. And so we are actually looking at that as to how we can build that into the program that will be continuing in Haiti.
If I may, I'd like to add something. NGOs and foreign players in general can prove to be very useful in certain focuses on certain parts of the needs of the people. But I think it has nothing to do with the way the Haitian society is going to evolve. It may play some marginal role, which in fact cannot be measured, cannot even be understood, I think, because it's only in retrospect that you can see how things have changed and why and in what way, at what pace. But the way the Haitian society is going to get organized, that was the meaning of my conclusive words. It belongs to the Haitians, and no one will be able, whatever we have in mind, to do it in their place.
Can I just say something? I mean, there are many. Haiti has produced many, many doctors. They're just not in Haiti, as is true for Africa and Asia too. And part of that IMF loan conditionality was that professional salaries would not go up. Now, if a country can't pay its, the NSF was improved here when salaries went up. If a country cannot pay its professionals, if they can't afford to stay, then other countries get the benefit of their training and their experience. So, I mean, Haiti being able to legislate wages and conditions and work conditions and be able to, have this kind of sovereignty that people assume they have, a country should have here and in the United States would go a long way, I think, to being able to allow Haiti to govern itself.
And Haitian doctors were part of it who were abroad came back as part of the in large numbers.
Okay, I thank you for all your questions and your participation and interest. I'm told there's a way to contribute if you'd like to contribute to the ongoing efforts in Haiti. Thank you very much for coming.